Welcome to the nLight online tutorial series. In this module, we're going to discuss the settings to program a daylight harvesting zone. Daylight harvesting is a commonly used lighting controls technique required by most energy codes. These zones are normally a group of lights close to a window or skylight where we expect a high amount of natural light to be present and the full use of artificial lights aren't necessary to maintain an adequate light level. nLight photocells, like the NCM80CX, are used to adjust lighting levels to meet these sequences of operation. At the end of this module, you will be able to describe and understand the basic settings required to create a daylight harvesting zone, as well as how to implement them in your programming. A couple of things to note before we get started. When we use the term lights, we mean any nLight output device, like an nLight enabled fixture or relay, power pack, or equivalent nLight Air device. When we use the term switch or wall pod, we mean any nLight device that is issuing switch commands on, off, and dim. These can come from nPod M-series devices or switch channels set up on an nPod Touch. You'll need a basic understanding of the nLight network and the SensorView software. There will be additional training information at the end of this presentation. If you'd like more information than what you see in these videos, or to enroll in any of our instructor-led events where we learn about these topics in a hands-on environment, please use the QR codes to the right to visit Acuity Academy. Feel free to pause the video now. First, let's discuss where we can find Follow Photocell mode in SensorView. We're in the Devices tab, selected a light, and have gone into its default settings. We used an MPP16D in this case. For a light to dim with a photocell, Follow Photocell mode must be enabled, whether it is enabled negative only or enabled both positive and negative. This setting is disabled out of the box. When lights have the enabled negative only selected, they are prevented from being manually dimmed above the current photocell level. When we have enabled both positive and negative selected, users can manually dim the full range of the lights. Photocells track switch channel 1 out of the box, and the Follow Photocell mode setting will change behavior based on if that photocell is tracking a switch or not. These differences will be covered in a separate tutorial. Also, lights will track photocell channel 1 out of the box, so make sure that your daylight harvesting lights are in the correct photocell channel prior to moving on. Next, there are a couple of settings the photocell uses in determining the light level threshold it will maintain. These settings can be found under the photocell's default settings. We're using an NCM80CX for this example. Set point is the foot candle level the photocell will reference to keep the measured light level above. Out of the box, the default setting is 5 foot candles and can be set anywhere between 0 and 200. Sunlight discount factor adjusts the photocell's ability to influence the light level. Out of the box, this is set to 4 and can be adjusted between 1 and 10. This affects how reactive the photocell is to changes in sunlight, and was introduced to compensate for the fact that in most installations, the photocell will measure the effect of artificial lights differently than the effect of sunlight on work surfaces. For instance, if a photocell gets placed close to a window, we may want to increase our sunlight discount factor. In that situation, we're expecting the photocell to see a high amount of sunlight that may not be present on the work surface, so we want to tone down how reactive that photocell is to changes in sunlight. After raising our sunlight discount factor, we have a larger threshold the photocell sees before adjusting lights between minimum and maximum dim levels. Opposite of that, if we think the photocell will see a small amount of sunlight, we need to decrease sunlight discount factor so the photocell reacts more aggressively. Now we have a smaller threshold between minimum and maximum dim levels. The combination of set point and sunlight discount factor is what determines the light level threshold a photocell will maintain. Keep in mind, this is the light level at the photocell, not necessarily what the work surface has. For a photocell to daylight harvest correctly, it must have an appropriate set point, and the artificial light level contribution must be saved in its device health. Auto set point is the best way to obtain both settings and needs to be run after the initial photocell setup. Take note, this only functions after the lights are following a photocell. Auto set point can be found under a photocell's Properties tab and can be run at any time, even during periods of high sunlight. Auto set point works by cycling the lights on and off to measure the light level reading before and after, then taking the difference between the two levels. The theory behind it assumes lights in the space were designed correctly, so placing the photocell set point at the same level as the artificial light contribution will ensure you maintain an adequate light level on the work surface. After the first cycle, if the difference is over 4 foot candles, set point and artificial light level contribution are set to that reading. If the difference is less than 4 foot candles, lights continue to cycle up to 4 times. If the reading stays below 4, the photocell set point is put at 4 foot candles, and the artificial light contribution is set to what the difference was. Now we have our daylight harvesting zone set up, and you will start to see the lights follow the photocell. Make sure to test the room and make any minor adjustments to the set point and sunlight discount factor to fine-tune the daylight harvesting. Thank you for watching our tutorial. You have just learned how to program a daylight harvesting zone. Be sure to check out our other daylight harvesting modules where we go over more advanced settings. For more information, reach out to Acuity Brands technical support at the phone number listed, or use the links provided. Keep an eye out for new content, and feel free to send an email to acuitycontrolstraining@acuitybrands.com if there are any other topics you'd like to see.